Merci bien, Monsieur le Président. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I feel very embarrassed because I lived for a very long time in Belgium. I moved to Africa, to an English-speaking part of Africa, nearly 10 years ago, and now I've lost all my French. So I will not try to speak to you in French. It will be a disaster. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have to be we have to decide whether e-commerce is specifically just the sale of products or whether it is much broader than that. Have I got my slides? Yep. Yeah. Well, sort of. Could you put the first slide on, please? Thank you. Right.
It's okay.
Ça va, ouais. We feel that e-commerce is not just the sale of products, it's also allowing the consumer or business to look at a product online but go to a shop to buy it, or vice versa, go to a shop to buy it and then go to a shop to look at it and then come home and buy it. So it's much broader than just the one action of selling online. I'd also like to say that it's not just about business to business, business to consumer, consumer to consumer. It's also government as well. Government nowadays is using e-commerce far more, e-government, to sell visas, to ensure that people are licensed to provide products, etc. So just to put it in more broader context, we, as the E-Commerce Forum Africa, which is a very new organization, we identified 12 different barriers to e-commerce in Africa. They are all relevant. Some countries enjoy the problems of all 12, and some don't. So just to, again, look at how in Africa e-commerce will develop. Second slide, please.
Slide suivant.
Merci. My favorite quote at the moment is this quote from the EU Digital Economy Task Force, and it says, e-commerce, the sale of goods and services online, will be the bloodstream of trade in Africa, nationally, regionally, continentally, and also globally. I think that's very important. Why are we, as the e-commerce forum, why were we created? We were created because of the African Free Trade Area. The African Free Trade Area, ladies and gentlemen, is created, or was dreamt up by the politicians, in order to ensure that Africa as a continent moves away from selling its jewels outside Africa and sells much more within Africa. 17% of goods manufactured or produced, goods and services manufactured, created in Africa, are sold within Africa. The rest are sold outside. This is a very dangerous situation. As I've written there, if Mr. Trump sneezes or if the European Union has a cough, then Africa catches the cold. We have to move away from that. And we have to move away from it quickly. The time is running out. I forgot to mention, we are also trying to bring together the e-commerce associations in Africa that exist nationally. There is one here in Morocco. I can't now contact them. If anyone is involved in the e-commerce Association of Morocco, please let me know afterwards. Africa has to create a vibrant and active internal market within the continent. That will create economies of scale which are essential. If someone today is making a product here in Morocco, it's very difficult for them to grow beyond Morocco. But if there is a free trade area within the whole of Africa, then they can grow and build. That is what happened in the European Union. That is what has to happen here in Africa. And we need e-commerce skills to succeed, as Madam Carroll pointed out earlier. Next slide, please. Well, okay. In the last 10 years, as we know, Africa has leapfrogged. Mobile phones are now the norm. That is extremely important. Traditional banking is being tested and found to be wanting in Africa. These are all disruptive. So should we call this the 4.0 industry, or should we call it the fourth industrial revolution? Revolutions happen immediately without necessarily being without being planned, whereas the 4.0 industry one considers a more quiet and gentle way of going about things. I like the idea of a revolution myself.
3 minutes, sir, please.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Right, okay. We desperately need to diversify our manufacturing. This is extremely important. We talked earlier, many people have talked about the fact that industry must go towards just the new technologies. I don't think that's necessary at all. Industry will follow a rhythm, and it is as important to make spare parts for cars as it is to look at, for example, blockchain or any of the other revolutions. Many countries are looking at different ways of creating strategies. Egypt has an e-commerce strategy. Rwanda looks at the digital economy as an integral part of its strategy. So we hope that Morocco will look at new ways of creating strategies for the industry. And what do we need? The last slide. We need cheap, easy access to internet. Very interestingly, Morocco is one of the lowest cost digital telecoms, which is great. We need cheap and reliable data. We need coherent and agile regulations, particularly, I think, in consumer protection. Particularly in consumer protection. The Minister also mentioned in competition law. That's extremely important too. We need the removal of tariffs and non-tariff barriers. At the present time, they make very serious problems for businesses across Africa. We need good transport infrastructure, good address systems. We need funding. I was very interested by what the earlier speaker said. Morocco is one of the 5 countries with the best attraction for foreign investment in Africa, which is extremely good. We need robust online payments, and we need training and skills. And I'd just like to finish, Mr. President, if I may, by saying that in looking at training and skills, and looking at how each country should identify what is going to be the most important thing in the Industrial Revolution that they should concentrate on. We shouldn't forget that each country is specific. And I'll give you a very good example. The Chinese now say that within 5 years they'll be able to do a visual recognition system of all Chinese. That's fantastic. They also, Mr. President, say that in identifying the face, those people with beards are considered to be aggressive. You and I need to watch out for that.
Thank you so much, sir, for your awesome speech.